just popped up on the grid in Naples.
He's playing their game.
He's making his first mistake.
They don't make mistakes.
On his terms.
He's doing exactly what he said he'd do. He's coming for us.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2004 classic action sequel, The Bourne Supremacy. The film is directed by Paul Greengrass and it stars Matt Damon. We have Franca Potente, Joan Allen, Brian Cox, Julius Stiles and Carl Urban. This time round, Bourne is trying to live a peaceful life in India. It's set 2 years after the first film. He is still haunted by his past and dreams. He's trying to piece his past together with the help of Marie, who he is with in India. And he is essentially set up. There is a hit that takes place somewhere, a sting, and there's a few people killed, and it is done by Carl Urban's character, Krill. And they leave prints of Jason Bourne there on the site. So they all think Jason Bourne's back and he's responsible. So Krill then heads to India. They found out where he is. They try and take him out. They kill Marie by mistake. And that then lights a fire under Jason Bourne, who decides to hit back and find out why they have dragged him back into what he never wanted to become a part of again. Right. What are my thoughts on The Bourne Supremacy? Well, as I said last week, you know, the Bourne identity when it came out was a massive breath of fresh air for the action genre. I'm not, you know, there's no sense retreading old ground. We know that it revolutionized action in the noughties. It forced Bond to assess how they were making their movies. And it generally, going forward for quite a few years, we've got kind of gritty, grounded action movies. And that is down to the influence of the Bourne franchise. So The Bourne Supremacy was a super sequel. I mean, fantastically done. Do I think it's as good as the first one? I don't, actually. There's a few reasons for that. I think, in actual fact, while it is brilliantly made, and we've got Paul Greengrass behind the camera for this one, so it's got a slightly different feel to it. The shaky cam goes to a whole new level here in regards to the action, and some people find that incredibly distracting, as I mentioned last time, but it's definitely more noticeable in this film, the shaky cam stuff. And in actual fact, he wanted it to have like a gritty documentary style, so handheld cameras were used quite a lot here, and that's very noticeable. It's effective but also can be quite distracting, but I think it, compared to the first one, it's actually a little bit lighter on action, I think. You know what I mean? There are some very, very impressive action scenes when you get them. I always thought, though, you know, the hand-to-hand fight scene with that last member of Treadstone in his house, you know, with the rolled-up newspaper thing, even though I do like that fight scene, it almost feels tacked on. He never really needed to go there. It never felt to me. It almost felt like that was kind of added in to give us a bit more action. And there's quite a few car scenes, and very effective one on the streets of Russia, another really good chase scene. But I found quite a lot of the action here to be anticlimactic, and I don't feel as though Jason Bourne kind of shined in regards to, you know, the action that he did in the first one. And I was always disappointed with the final confrontation between himself and Krill, played by Carl Urban. This is the guy that kills Marie, and you know, I personally was always hoping for like a full-on, you know, fisty fight with them, each other, or, you know. And we never really got that. You just kind of got that confrontation on the streets of Russia in the cars, and then he dies in a car accident. And I always found that a bit anticlimactic and a little bit disappointing. So while it sounds like I'm being a little bit critical of this film, I think it's still an excellent film, but I'm comparing it to, you know, the first film, which was almost perfection, really. I mean, it's such an effective film, the first one. As I said, it introduced, you know, Matt Damon and presented him as this realistic action star. So we kind of knew what we were getting this time round from Matt Damon and the character of Jason Bourne. And it did up the ante by killing off Marie so early into the film, sort of thing. But much of this film is him kind of uncovering his past. Trying to remember what he did, because he can remember snippets of him doing a hit to do with it's all tied with the reason he's framed for this film. It's all to do with this powerful Russian person who was part of this hit that Jason Bourne did on his first assignment, and it was covered up. And then you've got other people like the Brian Cox character, that was involved. So there's all these people involved, and it's up to Jason Bourne to kind of uncover the conspiracy, if you like, and clear his name. And one of my favourite scenes in the film, in actual fact, is when he confronts Brian Cox's character and shows him that he's recorded everything he said, and Brian Cox realises and his goose is cooked, basically. I just always thought that was a really, really effective scene. And I actually think as well Joan Allen as Landy was an excellent addition too. Because when you think about it, and this is true, I think, of all of the films, pretty much everybody that, in these situation rooms where they're chasing him, they're using the cameras and all that kind of stuff, everybody has always been corrupt. Like in the first one, he was corrupt. The second one, Brian Cox was obviously the corrupt one. And in the third one, it was David Strathairn that was corrupt. And then the fourth one, was it Tommy Lee Jones? I'll have to rewatch that one, obviously. And Joan Allen's Pamela Landy is the only one that's honest, firm but fair. And initially, she's after Bourne because she believes that he has, killed some of these agents that are part of her team. And when she actually realises that Bourne isn't the guilty party, she's all then for supporting him and making sure that, he kind of gets what he needs. And that continues on into the third film. So I actually think Joan Allen's Pamela Landy was an excellent addition to the film and the franchise. And it worked really, really well. We get to see Julia Stiles return again as Nikki. And that's a really good scene as well. I mean, there's a couple of really fun, effective scenes here, when Jason Bourne sort of says to him, right, I want to meet in such and such a place, and I want that girl Nikki that I saw in Paris all them years ago, and Landy's sort of saying, well, I don't know where she is. You're going to have to give me some time to find her. He says, well, it shouldn't take you long. She stood right next to you. I mean, it's effective because they know that they are in his sight, sort of thing. I mean, that would be very unnerving. And again, obviously, the scene right at the end of the film when Jason calls Pamela Landy and they kind of have this reconciliation scene, and he says to her, get some rest, Pamela, you look tired. Again, same thing. She knows that he's watching her, sort of thing. And then you get the iconic Jason Bourne music kicking in, again with the Moby soundtrack. It still gives me shivers, if you like, that soundtrack. It's absolutely brilliant. So I think this is an absolutely solid sequel. It just falls short of the first one, I think, in my opinion, but it is a very, very good sequel as sequels go. Looking forward to rewatching and checking out the third one and bringing you my review for that. Let me know in the comments which is your favourite Jason Bourne film, and I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.